Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. It's a pleasure to have you join us today. Today's topic is how to select the right partners to drive revenue growth for yourself and for your company. So as we do with all webinars that we have every 2 weeks, it's about revenue growth. It's about sharing with you best practices. And today, it's really focusing on partners, strategic partners, partnerships, channel partnerships, and how you can put this in practice and make it work for you. What we'll do throughout today's webinar too is please go ahead and post your questions. And you can just do that to the right of your screen. Post the questions that you have for me. And we'll make sure that we get to your questions by the end of the webinar. If we have too many questions, which sometimes does happen, then I'll make sure I follow up with you one-on-one and answer any questions that you have. So again, thanks for your participation. Look forward to that. We'll also have a couple polls that we'll do, about 3 polls during today's webinar, and share the results of that poll real time with everybody that's attending. So let's get started. Just in terms of my background, I founded with Craig Remy On-Demand Advisors 12 years ago, and we have a very simple mission as a revenue acceleration agency, and that is to help you dramatically scale revenue and do it so that it meets 3 criteria. Number 1, it's predictable. Gives you visibility to your revenue growth that you have going forward and for the next couple of quarters. Number 2, that it's consistent, so that whether you're a private company or a public company, you can scale revenue and really be able to count on it month in, month out. And number 3, that it's capital efficient. We've worked with over 300 different companies. Some are startup companies, some are mid-stage companies, some are public companies. And in every situation, the things we're going to be talking about today will work for you. So these best practices, you can implement them today. Some of them you're going to find are just breakthrough practices that you didn't know exist. Some are going to be a version of something better than you've tried. And some will just be just phenomenal things that we've innovated here at On-Demand Advisors. So we're always looking for new innovations that are going to help you successfully break through and scale revenue in a demonstrable way. My background, of course, is 12 years working with companies, working with executives, with CEOs to help scale the business. Before that, I was a CEO for both public and private companies in Silicon Valley. And I built in my career 10 different B2B companies and technology and services companies. So I really enjoy the experience of growing companies. It's just a phenomenal experience. And of course, you want to have success. So it's really mastering some of the topics we're going to be talking about today, putting those in place and implementing them right away for your company. One of the things that we created, and some of you that, if you're repeating your attendance from other webinars that we've had, and I do have these webinars every 2 weeks, some of you are familiar with this. This is called the Revenue Acceleration Map. This embodies the best practices for revenue growth for your company. And if you haven't gone through this in detail, I'm happy to do that one-on-one with you later after today's webinar and walk you through this. But every company has, to some degree, different parts of this map. The challenge is this: revenue growth is a process. What that basically means, it's a connected process from start to finish. So anything that's missing in your process can actually stop you or inhibit your revenue growth. So it's really important that you optimize all facets of this model and be able to do this extremely well. But once you do, it is something that you can carry forward with you throughout your career and mentor your team on, mentor your colleagues on, and work with your board. Let's talk a little bit about the value of partnerships and these channel partnerships that I'm talking about today. Partnerships are really important, and we do that for many different reasons. And the most important reason that we do that is so that we can extend our sales distribution channel beyond our own people, so that we can actually get into new markets. Perhaps you can reach Asia Pac with a partnership. Perhaps you can reach different markets, work with what I call market makers. So what I find is that there are always, in every industry, there are market makers. If you get into financial services, if you're in healthcare, if you're in oil and gas, there are market makers in each of these different areas. And the question is, should you do that directly, or should you work with partners to be able to get that job done? When I was the CEO at Intacct, a well-known software as a service financial applications company, I scaled the company two ways. I scaled it directly, but I also scaled it with channel partners. What was important about this experience is that we added 5,000 new customers, and half of that revenue that we had came direct, the other half came indirect. So I looked at the partner landscape, and one of the things about being a services or software as a service type company, cloud provider, is that partnerships are easier than they were in the 10 years ago. And the reason why they're easier is because it's truly a service. So that opens up the opportunities, it opens up the potential partnerships with many more partners. At Intacct, we had over 300 different partners. 200 of those partners were private label, which you hear OEM partners. And those were partners that would actually take our solution, embed it, private label it to their clients. Some of those were CPA firms that used our cloud-based financial applications to manage all the financial statements and accounting rules and really close the books for all their customers. And that was phenomenally, and is phenomenally successful today. Another thing that I found great success working with is identifying what I call market makers in each of the different industries. So these vertical market makers would, for instance, in real estate, one of our partners is a company called RealPage. Now, RealPage is a very successful company focused on real estate property management companies. And what we found working with RealPage is they needed a set of financial applications to really encapsulate what their clients needed. So they had three choices. They either could build their own financial applications, they could buy a company, or they could partner with us. And so we made it very attractive for them to private label and partner our solutions to their clients. In addition to that, we added over 100 different value-added resellers, systems integrators, and sell with partners. One of those main partners that we went to market with is Salesforce. So everybody knows Salesforce these days with Mark Benioff, just an extraordinarily successful company. But what we found when we worked with Salesforce is they provided a front office solution, and we were the back office solution. So together, we could provide an integrated front and back office solution to many clients. That was extremely attractive. So that enabled us to go to market together with Salesforce and sell a joint solution whenever and wherever it was needed. So just wanted to share a couple of these different models as we're talking throughout today's webinar. The key, though, is every month, every quarter, I knew that I could get half of the revenue through our channel partners. And it's a great way to have visibility and leverage in the marketplace because you know you can't be everywhere. And you also know that building your sales organization organically, whether it's inside sales organization or whether it's a field-driven organization, it can be very expensive. So this helps you balance that type of cost structure as you look at going forward. Let's have a couple of polls, if we could, with our audience today. And I would appreciate you participating in these polls. It's always great to have you participate, and I'll share the results. So first of all, how many partners do you have in your partner program? The answer is none, an approximate 10, 50, 100 plus, or you're not really sure. So go ahead, if you could, and just weigh in and give us some sense in terms of the number of partners that you have today. And I'll share the results with everybody as we go throughout today. So thank you for participating. And let me go ahead and collect a few more responses, and we'll share the results with all of you today. Your participation is really important. I love collaborating with you to make sure that you're getting exactly what you need from today's webinar. So here's the results. 43% of you attending today stated that you have no partners or none. 50% stated that you have 10, and 7% stated that you have 50. So it's great. So for some of you today, the 43% that it said that you have none, we're going to share with you some best practices. And it's great when you're building a partner program because you're going to have the opportunity to do it right. For those of you that do have a partner program, you may be coming to this webinar saying, I'm not getting the results I'm looking for. I need better results from my partner channel. I need better results in terms of what we do today, or I need better visibility and predictability about what my partners can close for me. So we're going to discuss those. Those are just really important topics. Okay, here's another poll that I'd like to ask you to participate in. What's your biggest challenge with your partner program today? And here's some different options. So you could say maybe the biggest challenge is identifying the right partners, or it's recruiting the right partners, or it's onboarding the right partners, or it's getting your partners to drive revenue, or finally it's creating the right incentives for the partner sales team. So different options, but pick out the one that you think is your biggest challenge, and we'll highlight that and really focus some of our discussions on what you think is most important for today's conversation. Okay, I'll keep the poll open here for another couple of seconds and then share the results with everybody. Okay, everybody's poll is in, so let's go ahead and share the results. So 21% of you stated that identifying the right partners is important to you, your biggest challenge. We're going to give you the information you're looking for in terms of identifying the right partners. 36% stated it's recruiting the right partners, so we want to talk about that. Another 36% of you stated that getting your partners to drive revenue is most important. And then finally, 7% of you stated that creating the right incentives for partners' sales team is your biggest challenge. So good, thank you very much for participating in that poll. And by the way, for your specific company after our webinar today, if you'd like to have a conversation about specifically something that you can do to move the needle in this area, I am more than happy to discuss that with you. Okay, so thanks for everybody for participating. Now the question is, do you have a reactive or proactive partner program? So most companies I've seen that have what I call a reactive partner program. What does that mean? It means that perhaps some companies came to you and said, gee, I see that you don't have anybody selling your services in Europe. Could we do that for you since you don't have any coverage over there? Or you get into a referral relationship with some people that say, perhaps I can send business your way and you can send it our way. That's not unusual to see a partner model grow up with most companies in this way. One of the things we're going to talk about today, though, is having an intentional proactive partner program. And that's very different than what most people have implemented. I'm going to walk you through the tenets of a proactive partner program and what does that mean so that you can be intentional about picking the right partners and driving real revenue growth for your company. So let me introduce this. And we're going to focus today's discussion on these first 5 that I've highlighted in bold. The first is, how do you create your ideal partner profile? So what does that look like? How do you put that together? And then how do you create a partner scorecard? We're going to give you that information today, and we're going to walk you through a client example in terms of how we work with one of our clients to actually create their partner scorecard. We also will show you how to map your partner ecosystem. You'd be surprised the number of potential companies out there that could be partners for you as you look at your target audience and how to reach that target audience. We're going to also share with you how to engage and negotiate with your partners so that you actually set the foundation correctly. A lot of times I'll get involved with the conversation with the CEO or VP of Business Development where they will be lamenting, if they should, that they're not getting many deals done with their partners. And when you pull back the covers, you find out in many cases the way that it was structured as an opportunistic partnership. In other words, when somebody saw a need for your service or a solution, they would sell your solution or service. That may happen a couple times a year. Well, that's not good because you want it to happen every month. You maybe want 10 different deals with that partner to happen every month. So how do you change the compass so that you can get that to happen? The fifth area I'm going to talk about is priming the pump. I see so often where companies do sign up partners and then nothing happens. And so what ends up happening is you have a partnership on paper, but not a partnership in practice. So what you have to do is you have to prime the pump. And we're going to talk about how do you do that. We'll also touch upon how to onboard your partners, how to validate your success, and then how do you assess what's working and what's not working and scale. So let's talk about the first thing, creating your ideal partner profile or IPP. So first of all, you look at what are the attributes that define a great partner. We're going to cover some of those attributes because they'll become part of your scorecard. One of the things you look at is, do they have any partnering experience? So if they've never partnered with another company before in this type of relationship that you're looking for, then this is going to be a first for them. And you may have to share with them or work with them to understand how this model is going to work, because this is a business model you're going to be putting in place. The third thing is, do they have the competency to represent your solution? So for instance, when I was the CEO at Intacct, I would try to determine if these other partners could actually represent our accounting solutions competently to that target audience. Did they understand accounting? Did they understand our solution? Could they demonstrate it? Could they present the value to their solution? How much of that sales cycle could they actually do themselves? Another point that you look for is, do they have a significant distribution channel that amplify your coverage? So more is better in this situation. So for instance, when Concur collaborated with ADP for the mid-market to have ADP sell their solution, they're a solution for travel and expense management through ADP, right away they knew that they're going to have 1,000 ADP salespeople on the street selling their solution. So that's a massive delta for Concur to actually have ADP take that solution to market to all their payroll customers. Another example is, do they reach markets that you cannot reach directly? So for instance, when I talked about RealPage and I was the CEO at Intacct, we wanted to get into many different markets. RealPage is the market leader for real estate property management companies. So they already had the lion's share of coverage and penetration. What made them really helpful for us is, number one, they knew how to partner. But number two, they could take us into hundreds of commercial real estate property management companies that we probably would not focus on or get to ourselves. And then the final thing is, do they have a need for your solution? Do they see this as complementary? Do they see your solution as an extension? Do they see your solution as something that their customers need? So I'll give you an example. Again, at Intacct, we had built some great transactional systems for accounting and financial management. What we didn't have, though, is we didn't have a executive dashboard for the CFO. So what we did is we partnered with a company where we could actually embed their dashboard technology with our solutions and create the KPIs and dashboards that CFOs wanted to see. That really helped change our space. It helped change what was important. I knew that when we presented to the CFO and the accounting team, I knew in the first 10 minutes we would show the dashboard for the CFO, because the CFO wanted to see how was I going to use this solution to manage the business. And so that's a great example in terms of how you can do that. Now, one of the things that's really important in terms of establishing your partner channel program is to understand what type of partners you're looking for. So I list three here, and there are other types of partnerships too, but I'm going to cover these three for today's session. The first one is a referral partner. We all have referral partners, somebody that wants to refer business to you you want to refer business to them. The good news is that it's easy to set up and it's easy to do. The difficulty is that it doesn't really, it's not very repeatable. It just happens when the need usually arises. The next model is the reseller. So for a reseller, they're going to take your solution or service and resell that to the marketplace. That's great. There are a lot of resellers out there, a lot of what's called VARs, and those value-added resellers will take your solution and sell it to market. And that also is opportunistic. So that's also a great thing. The last one, and that's what I call the cat's meow, is what I call an OEM or private label solution. And I think this is where you'd want to take every partnership if you could. And this is where somebody takes your solution or service, brands it as their own, and then takes it to market as part of their overall solution set. That is really great. Why is that great? Well, number one is it typically means that your partner has the competency and the wherewithal to actually represent your solution to that sales cycle to their clients. Number two is when they private label that solution, you lose your brand in terms of them saying, this is with Bob, this is with Intacct. What you gain, though, is you gain clarity, meaning that they don't have to explain the partnership to their clients that exists between the two companies, because you can use a lot of time and energy explaining these partnerships to your customer base. So I want to talk about one of our clients. This is a company up here. You can see Gather Digital. And Gather Digital is a tremendous company that created a whole set of mobile event management applications. So if you went to a trade show, of course, trade shows aren't big right now, but they will come back after COVID-19. But if you went to a trade show, you would typically use your smartphone, and your smartphone would have an app like Gather Digital on there, and it would help direct you to the different speakers. It would give you directions. It would give you the program guide. It would tell you about the speaker. It would allow you to download the presentation. It would enable you to communicate and integrate with other attendees at the conference. The person putting on the conference could do polls with the audience real time. So there's so many different things that you could do to enhance that event management experience for all of the attendees. And that's really what Gather Digital did. So when we began working with Gather Digital, they asked us if we could help them really optimize both sets of routes to market. One is selling direct, which we help them really do and drive that. Another one is selling indirect. So I'll walk you through what we did with them, because I think it gives you a good playbook on thinking about how to find the right partners to select them. So the first thing is determine what the ideal partner profile is that you need to establish. We call it the IPP. And what we did with Gather Digital is we said, let's come up with 10 criteria, each worth 10 points. And let's determine, we're going to score every potential partner. So what we were looking for is we're looking for companies that could have tremendous size as partners and routes to market. So we focused on the larger the better, which was also a proxy for the number of salespeople that each partner had. We also wanted to work with with companies that had other channel partners and had done acquisitions. It gave some sense that these companies knew how to do a partnership, how to make a partnership work. Now, Gather Digital also was focused on a number of vertical markets. So they were focused on financial services, pharmaceutical, and technology, and mainly B2B companies. So we were looking at partners that also were focused on similar verticals and had that type of orientation. We also wanted to see if they had a lot of customers, because we realized if that partner would take Gather Digital's mobile event management solution to market, that right away they could also sell that to their current customer base, not just new customers. So those were the first 4 criteria. We were looking for a really good integration architecture so that they would publish APIs and then Gather Digital could integrate easily with their solution. The next thing that we're looking for is competency to represent the solution. Now, some partners that you can work with aren't competent to represent your solution. You may have a sophisticated solution. Let's say your solution is a very specific solution for the oil and gas industry. Well, some partners may be able to refer business to you, but they can't necessarily represent you. So you have to look at that. So we make a decision about the competency of each company. Another thing that we're looking for is access to a high-level champion. So for smaller companies, it would typically be the CEO. For larger companies, it would typically be the VP of Business Development or the VP of Sales. The next thing that we were looking at as far as the scorecard is that they had no competitive offering, such as a mobile event app, that would compete with this offering. And then finally, the next two were that this was perceived as a natural extension to their customers for their products and services they were providing. And then we were looking for partners that could be self-sufficient. If not immediately self-sufficient over a period of time. So that became the 10 different criteria. Now, what I'm giving you basically is a roadmap to create your partner scorecard too. The 10 criteria that we just went through with Gather Digital is something that we created with their management team. The 10 criteria that you would create as far as a scorecard would be different based upon what's important to you and what's important in terms of your marketplace. So once we created these 10 attributes, we basically could say, okay, we're going to give a relative score to every partner in the marketplace that is a potential partner for them. And this would allow us to start prioritizing which partners to work with. Now, a beauty about the scorecard is that you can also use it with your existing partners. Once you have the scorecard, you can go back and score your current partners. I find that sometimes you're going to be surprised on how low of score some of your current partners have. And what you'll find is that your company has bandwidth for a certain number of partnerships. So what you really want to do is you want to make sure that you're working with the right partners. Now, the next step in a proactive partner program is mapping and scoring your ecosystem. What does that mean? Well, when we worked with Gather Digital, we said we want to look at everybody that's involved in event management. So we wanted to look at all the companies that were out there that worked in the event management space. We wanted to look at companies that offer other software for event management. We wanted to look at services companies that put on events, managed events, and we want anybody else that was involved in providing solutions to the event management space. Because when we did this, we ended up mapping out 150 different companies that we'll talk about. The other thing as we did this ecosystem mapping is we wanted to categorize each of these different potential partners in a couple of different buckets. There are potential partners that could leverage Gather Digital's solution and take it to market. There were companies that were competitors, and there were companies that were perceived or potential acquirers for Gather Digital. That last point is really interesting because if you think about down the road, if you think about an exit for your company, and you want to think about something where there's synergy, that could be an excellent way to think about who you choose as far as these partnerships. So for Gather Digital, we mapped out and scored 150 companies, and we divided them into these different categories that we just talked about. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk you through some of those scorecards so you can see what the result is, and then we can interpret what that is. So if you have a partner scorecard, it's a beautiful thing. It's going to give you really a prioritized list on who you should be working with and perhaps who you should not be working with. Because the truth is, at your company, you have only a certain amount of bandwidth to work with X number of partners. So what you want to do is you want to work with the right partners. So here's, I'm going to walk you through 4 different scorecards for 4 different companies. This company is Ashfield Meetings. The company does a tremendous job in terms of as a services company, putting on these different conferences. So you could see out of scale of 100 different points, they scored a 90. So a great company to prioritize as far as opening up discussions and partnering with them, right? Okay, let's look at another one. SpotMe, another company out there where they actually do a lot of good work out there, but you could see that they scored a 78. Here's another company, eTouches. They scored a 76. And then finally, Certain Software. Certain Software scored a 62. So this company scored very, very low. Now, why was that? What's attractive about this company? So what was attractive about this company is not that they actually could go to market and take Gather Digital's solutions to market. What was attractive about this company is that they had no real presence in terms of mobile event management solutions. So the reason why this company was attractive is not because they would help you go to market and amplify your solution. The reason why is because they would find something like Gather Digital very attractive as an acquisition because they didn't have a mobile strategy that they were bringing to market or had not articulated to the market. And as you know today, if you don't have a mobile strategy, it's tough. It's tough to play. So that was just taking you through, that was developing the scorecard and giving you some representative examples. So what's the other key next piece? And this is really important, and that is creating a proactive partnership when you sit down. So once we created the scorecard with Gather Digital, we arranged meetings between their executives and the executives of each of these partners. It gave an opportunity to talk about how the partner program could work, how it could drive revenue that was going to be accretive for both firms, and how it was going to extend the footprint that these customers or clients needed to have from the event management solution. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to work with each of these partners and really create the right relationship. And so it was really important that Gather Digital could provide these companies with the opportunity to private label their solution and take it to market. We wanted to do that because we wanted their solution to be sold to every customer. If you think about a referral partnership, if you think about a VAR, a value-added reseller partnership, that typically doesn't happen. It happens when it happens. It happens when the sales team decides to sell your solution as a complementary solution into that customer. In a private label embedded relationship, that solution is being sold into every new customer. So this became really important in terms of being a preference that we had going into the negotiations. The middle thing that I've highlighted here is also ensuring that their sales executives were compensated at the same commission rate with the same quota credit as they have for their own solutions. This means that your solution now does not become an orphan or an appendage. And so that became really important. So what we figured out and what we take from today as far as the most important takeaways from today's webinar is selecting the right partners and negotiating the right agreement are going to be the biggest determinants for your success. And then finally, it's providing the access, or I should say, assessing the quarterly progress that you're making and figuring out what's working, what's not working, and then scaling from there. Now, this next area is about priming the pump. And this is probably one of the most overlooked areas that I see in terms of establishing partnerships. Let's say your company and I created a partnership, and you're going to take our wonderful service to the market. So that would be fantastic. But if you are in a situation where you're already going to market with us, and we struck the relationship, we've trained our teams on how to do that, what you want to do next is prime the pump. What does that mean? It means when you do a partnership, you want to create the leads for the sales team. So what you don't want to do is train your partner sales team and then be in a position where they don't have anything to work on, because that knowledge, that skill sets will go away. So what you want to do is you want to leverage that skill set right away. And so we've got a whole methodology that we have for creating demand and leads for the organizations, whether it be direct or indirect. And the whole the discipline here is to be able to do that, because once you start creating the leads for their sales team, they're going to start getting successful. Okay, here's some other things that I'd like to share with you as far as best practices for making this type of partner relationship work. So one of the things that I look at is developing your partner sales handbook or playbook. And that's really important, because what you've got to do is take what you've learned from selling direct and distill it into the best practices for their team on how they should go to market, how they can identify the need for your services and solutions, and how they should present your value propositions. You want to train the partner sales team in identifying those pains and business challenges, identifying the value propositions that you offer, and then how to use the sales tools that you're going to provide to them to make them productive very, very quickly. You want to create a registration process for every new opportunity that you have for each partner, so that as they're looking at working with different companies that out there, they can register those opportunities with you so that you know to complement them, not compete with them. The final two areas is you need to track all this. You need to implement a partner relationship management system or an equivalent, and we've implemented these for our clients. So that's like a CRM, only it's a PRM. And basically what that is a system that allows you to focus on tracking all of the partner opportunities, providing the information that partners need, such as a wiki or a website where they can go and get all the sales tools that they need, and basically be that type of one-stop shopping that you have as far as a partnership. This last one is something that I learned, which is embed your organization in the first 5 closed transactions. So for instance, when I go back to the RealPage model, where we talked about going to market with RealPage, where they were actually the private label OEM partner that took our solutions to market, I embedded our key people in their first 5 transactions. The reason I did that is because I wanted to share the DNA from our team with their team. The best way to do that is to have mutual success. Now let's talk about a little bit about validating your joint success with these key partners. Number one is identify lighthouse accounts that partners are going to have, because these lighthouse accounts will create a domino effect for them in terms of if they're involved in, let's say, pharma companies. It'd be great if they can go out and sell Eli Lilly, if they could go out and sell any of the large pharma companies out there like Pfizer. Because once that happens, it creates a domino effect in terms of the services and solutions that are out there. I also look at success stories. There are 2 types of success stories in the partner world. The first one is a joint success story, where you work with a partner and deliver that solution to their customer. So there, it's about the benefits and the ROI that the customer was able to achieve. The other type of success story is how you work together with that partner and help that sales team to be successful. Now it's about collaboration. Now it's about they understand and trust you as a partner, how to work with you. Now those salespeople can talk about how they were able to achieve substantial commissions and compensation because of selling your solution. That's also a great success story. So for both of these, typically when we're involved with helping companies construct and implement their partner program, we're going to showcase those. So for webinars, we'll do webinars for their target audience. For the sales team, we'll do webinars so salespeople can stand up and say, here's how I successfully worked with this other company and achieve that. And then finally, what you want to do is eliminate areas of friction. And so you find out what's impeding the partnership and how do you eliminate those areas of friction that you have. The final area I have to talk about is just assessing and scaling. So you want to have forecasting rigor with partners as you do with your own sales team. You want to institute quarterly partnership health checks, progress checks, if you will. And you want to measure and focus on key KPIs with each partner: the number of joint engagements, the number of proposals presented, the number of deals closed, so that you can assess the partnership on a very objective scorecard and see how it's working. Now, I talked about Gather Digital earlier, and I talked about some of the key companies in their space that were in the software space, event management software space, but did not have a defined mobile strategy. One of the first companies that we identified for Gather Digital is Certain Software. Well, Certain Software acquired Gather Digital because right away they saw that Gather could help them address that big gap that they had in terms of mobile. And so it became a great relationship for both companies. And that's just something that's a natural occurrence that it can occur when you have great partnerships in the marketplace that work. So let's just recap what we've discussed today. First, create your ideal partner profile, and I'm happy to do that with you if you'd like to talk through that. Second is create that scorecard based upon that IPP. And then third is to map out your partner ecosystem. So what our team did is we went out and we mapped out the Gather Digital ecosystem. We did all the research. We came up with a scorecard for all 150 clients or partners that they had, so they could then prioritize. And then we helped them engage with the top partners, get the conversation going, set the agenda, and help them through that process. Finally, we actually helped them prime the pump, which is create the volume of leads for each partner so that they could scale that partnership and have success. And then we also touched upon onboarding your partners, validating joint success, and then assessing that partnership and scaling. So in the assessment phase, you're looking at which partners are succeeding, which ones are not, and you want to be in a position to always upgrade your hand when it's necessary. So let's go on to the next poll question that we have here for everybody attending today. And let's ask you, from your perspective, for the information that we just shared in this 45 minutes that we've had together, what's your most important takeaway from today's webinar? Is it that you want to create a partner scorecard for your company? Is it that you want to move from an opportunistic to a proactive partner program? Is it that you like to map the ecosystem of potential partners to engage? Is it that you like to determine how to make your existing partner program more efficient or more effective? Or is it not, you're not sure and you're saying, great information today, Bob, and let me digest this and figure out where I go from here. So go ahead and share your information if you would, and it's always great to do this interactively and share this with everyone. So I'll keep the poll open here for just a few more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and share this information. And by the way, the next step is we're going to open up this for Q&A, and we'll look forward to your questions. So let me go ahead and give you another second or two. Go ahead and put in your preference, and thank you for participating in today's poll. Okay, let me go ahead and close the poll. Let me share this with you. So 18% of you stated that your most important takeaway is creating a partner scorecard, which is great. 9% stated that you'd like to move from an opportunistic to a proactive partner program. 27% of you stated that you'd like to map the ecosystem of potential partners to figure out which to engage, which not to. Another 27% stated that you'd like to determine how to make your existing partner program more effective or more efficient. And then the final 18%, you're not sure, but hopefully you've gotten some fantastic information from today's webinar. And of course, we recorded this webinar, so if you have peers and colleagues you'd like to share the information with, you can do that. Okay, so this is the next step here now is I'll close the poll. And let's go ahead, if we could, and open this up for Q&A. So go ahead and post the questions that you have, and let me see if I can get to as many as possible in the time that we have together. So all questions are valuable, by the way, and I really appreciate them. Marianne asked, will a copy of the webinar be distributed to all who have registered? The answer is yes. I always like to do that. because I know that it's live webinars are sometimes difficult to attend. So we always do that, and we always want to be on top of that for you. Okay, let's go ahead if we can. Down to our next question. Another question around getting the slides. Happy to do that because you had to leave, William. Here's a question. Do I need a CRM or a PRM? So if you know what a CRM is, it's a customer relationship management solution, like what Salesforce sells. A PRM is a partner relationship management system. So as I said earlier, good question. They're very similar. Some CRM solutions can actually work well too with partners, but just keep in mind that when you work with the partner channel, they typically have different needs. So for instance, one of those needs, I'll just give you a couple of examples. One of those is registration. You want partners to register opportunities that they're going to work on with you so that you understand that your job is to take their registration, accept it, and then support them and not compete with them. So that's important in terms of having that registration process. It also gives you insight with the partner as far as how they're doing on that opportunity so that you can forecast if they have some visibility in terms of what their funnel or pipeline looks like today too. Another example of a PRM is sales tools. So what you can do is you can take the sales tools that you have, you can either co-brand that or you can private label that for your partner and put them in the PRM and enable their team to have access to the same sales tools that your team does direct so that they understand how to be effective and efficient in terms of working through sales process that they have. So great questions in terms of that. Here's one of the questions, and this one is from John. John asked, is there a way to change from opportunistic to proactive? Good question, because for those of you, we mentioned that 43% of you don't have a partner program, but the other remaining percentage would, which is really, we're talking about 57%. So if you do have a partner program, developing a partner scorecard gives you an opportunity to assess the effectiveness of your current partners that you have today. And I often am involved working with companies to help them re-implement or reconstitute their channel partner program, because if you can show your current partners that you can change the program to be proactive, you can also share with them how you can drive a lot more revenue. And that's really a big plus for you, a big plus for them. So moving this program, getting rid of the partners that aren't making revenue happen for you, and then moving the partners that you want to keep into a proactive program is very important. And then recruiting new partners that are going to be proactive is also very important. So great questions, and thank you for attending today's webinar. Now let's talk about some next steps that I can give to you too. One more question. This is from Janine. What if a partner registers a client you are already working with? Great question. So as much as possible, you want to eliminate conflict between your direct sales force and your partner channel. There are going to be cases, though, for instance, where you may have multiple partners that may receive, let's say, an RFP from a company, and so you're going to have multiple submissions of your solution. But where possible, the reason for the registration process is to say, well, we can't accept that registration because we're already working with that company. So that's key. That's key is to have visibility so that you can eliminate conflict. Nothing can kill a partnership faster than the sales team believing at the partner side that you're competing against them. So great question, Janine. So thank you for that. Let's see. Here's another question. Let's go ahead and see. What do you mean by similar verticals? Also, similar verticals. So for instance, when I talked about Gather Digital, they were focused on a couple of different vertical industries. They were focused on pharmaceutical companies, they were focused on financial services companies, and so forth. So they had chosen different verticals that they wanted to focus on. So one of the things we looked at when we looked at potential partners is did those partners also have similar focus, or were they just focused horizontally on all industries? Also, we're ensuring that compensation is the same as the partner's own product, meaning that you'd be seen as competing with partner services. So I think what you're saying is a question about the compensation. So the compensation, the reason why I've learned this to your question is that when you're providing your solutions are being compensated at a lower level, let's say the sales organization for the partner sells their own solutions and receives a commission of 6%. And let's say they look at your solution and they could sell your solution, but they receive 3% commission. Well, they're going to be in a situation where they're going to always think about their own solutions first and may not think about your solution, or it may be an afterthought. If you're being paid the same commission as what they're being paid for their services or solutions, it puts you on par with that. And salespeople, right or wrong, are going to be driven by how much money they can make. So they're really into this to make their commissions. They're really into be successful, and that's going to be a key driver for behavior. So that's one thing that I've learned that I wanted to share with you today that might be helpful. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions here. I think those are substantially the questions. So let's talk about some next steps that you can take definitively from today's meeting. Okay. Well, just to let you know, what we're talking about today works with a lot of companies. I've been involved in going into SAP and evaluating their top 40 partners that they have and helping them think differently about the partner program and how it could work effectively. So what we're talking about today does work with many different companies of all different sizes. So here's some potential next steps for everybody joining today's webinar. The first one is just request a call, send me an email. Here's my email address, here's my cell phone number. But go ahead and request a meeting, and we'll schedule a meeting with you if you'd like to talk about how to create your own partner scorecard. And probably about an hour together on the phone, and we can walk you through that and really provide something that would be of immediate value to you. Another thing that I've created is a ebook about how a partner scorecard can help drive revenue growth. And similar to today's webinar, this is a great ebook that would be very helpful, covering very similar information that you can read or share across your company. And then finally, if you want a copy of our revenue acceleration map, your visual guide, if you will, for revenue growth practices, go ahead and request that. So a couple of different things that you can request from me, and I'm happy to provide those to you. So again, I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Craig Remy, and our entire On-Demand Advisors team that we have, helping you drive revenue growth, both direct as well as with your partners. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We look forward to assisting you any way possible going forward.